Ooh, shake a shake. Hi guys, this is Connie. Back for some more Connie Reads, and it is currently January 9th, 2021. And now more than ever, this is what needs to take precedence, at least for me. If you'd like to join, feel free to listen along with me. Connie reads White Fragility, Why It's So Hard for White People to Talk About Racism by Robin DiAngelo, and foreword by Michael Eric Dyson. What is white fragility? In this groundbreaking and timely book, anti-racist educator Robin DiAngelo deftly illuminates the phenomenon of white fragility. Referring to the defensive moves that white people make when challenged racially, white fragility is characterized by emotions such as anger, fear, and guilt, and by behaviors including argumentation and silence. These behaviors, in turn, function to reinstate white racial equilibrium and prevent any meaningful cross-racial dialogue. In this in-depth examination, DiAngelo explores how white fragility develops, how it protects racial inequality, and what we can do to engage more constructively. And there is so many different things on the back of this book. Robin DiAngelo is an academic, lecturer, and author, and has been a consultant and trainer on issues of racial and social justice for more than 20 years. She formerly served as a tenured professor of multicultural education at Westfield State University. Also, she's a white woman, kind of like me. So this is, I'm excited, but it doesn't feel like that's the right word to just dive into it, because I could talk too much, and sometimes I do. I don't post those videos often. So here we go. Introduction. There's a quote. These ceremonials in honor of white supremacy performed from babyhood slip from the conscious mind down deep into muscles and become difficult to tear out. An excerpt from Lillian Smith, Killers of the Dream, 1949. There's the table of contents. And here is a foreword. Kaiser Sose, Beyonce, and the Witness Protection Program. This foreword is titled that, written by Michael Eric Dyson. One metaphor for race and racism won't do. They are, after all, exceedingly complicated forces. No, we need many metaphors working in concert, even if in different areas of the culture through a clever division of linguistic labor. Race is a condition, a disease, a card, a plague, original sin. For much of American history, race has been black culture's issue. Racism, a black person's burden. Or substitute any person of color for black, and you've got the same problem. Whiteness, however, has remained constant. In the equation of race, another metaphor for race beckons. Whiteness is the unchanging variable. Or, to shift metaphors, whiteness has been, to pinch Amiri Baraka's resonant phrase, the changing same. A highly adaptable and fluid force that stays on top no matter where it lands. In a sense, whiteness is at once the means of dominance, the end to which dominance points, and the point of dominance too, which, in its purest form, in its greatest fantasy, never ends. To be sure, like the rest of race, whiteness is a fiction. What in the jargon of the Academy is termed a social construct. An agreed-on myth that has empirical grit because of its effect, not its essence. But whiteness goes even one better. It is a category of identity that is most useful when its very existence is denied. That's its twisted genius. Whiteness embodies Charles Baudelaire's admonition that, quote, the loveliest trick of the devil is to persuade you that he does not exist, end quote. Or as an alter ego of the character Kaiser Soze says in the film The Usual Suspects, the greatest trick the devil ever played was to convince the world that he doesn't exist. The devil, racism, another metaphor, same difference. Robin DiAngelo is here to announce, in the words of evangelicals, and rappers Rick Ross and Jay-Z. The devil is a lie. Whiteness, like race, may not be true. It is not biologically heritable. It is not a biologically heritable characteristic that has roots in psychological structures or in genes or chromosomes, but it is real in the sense that societies and rights and goods and resources and privileges have been built on its foundation. D'Angelo brilliantly names a whiteness that doesn't want to be named, disrobes a whiteness that dresses in camouflage as humanity, unmasks a whiteness costumed as American, and fetches to center stage a whiteness that would rather hide in invisible invisibility. It is not enough to be a rhetorician or a semiotician to deconstruct and demythitize whiteness. One must be a magician of the political and the social, an alchemist of the spiritual and psychological too. One must wave off racist stereotypes and conjure a rich history of combating white supremacy and white privilege and white lies. A history that has often been buried deep in the dark, rich Black American soil. D'Angelo knows that what she is saying to white folk in this book is what so many black folks have thought and believed and said over the years, but couldn't be heard because white ears were too sensitive, white souls too fragile. D'Angelo joins the front ranks of white anti-racist thinkers with a stirring call to conscience and, most important, consciousness in her white brothers and sisters. White fragility is a truly generative idea. It is a crucial concept that inspires us to think more deeply about how white folk understand their whiteness and react defensively to being called to account for how that whiteness has gone under the radar of race for far too long. D'Angelo is wise and withering in her relentless assault on what Langston Hughes termed, quote, the ways of white folks, unquote. But she is clear-eyed and unsentimental in untangling the intertwined threads of societal destiny and political prescription that bind white identity to moral neutrality and cultural universality. Words. Important words. D'Angelo bravely challenges the collapse of whiteness into national identity. No less an authority than Beyonce Knowles recently remarked, "It's been said that racism is so American that when we protest It has been said that racism is so American that when we protest racism, some assume we're protesting America." D'Angelo proves that Beyonce is right, that the flow of white identity into American identity, of racist beliefs into national beliefs, must be met head-on with a full-throated insistence that what it means to be American is not what it means to be white, at least not exclusively, or even primarily. This nation is far more complicated in its collective self-understanding. D'Angelo, in a masterly way, takes apart the notion that identity politics is a scourge, at least when it involves people of color or women. She blows down the house of white racial cards built on the premise that it can or should rest on something beyond identity politics. D'Angelo forces us to see that all politics have rested on identities, and that those identities are critical features of wrestling with how we have gone wrong in the effort to set things right, which too often has meant make them white. We cannot possibly name the nemesis of democracy or truth or justice or equality if we cannot name the identities to which they have been attached. For most of our history, straight white men have been involved in a witness protection program that guards their identities and absolves them of their crimes while offering them a future free of past encumbrances and sin. Robin DiAngelo is the new racial sheriff in town. She is bringing a different law and order to bear upon the racial proceedings. Instead of covering up for a whiteness that refused to face up to its benefits and advantages, its errors and faults, she has sought to uphold the humanity of the unjustly maligned while exposing the offenses of the undeservedly celebrated. White fragility is an idea whose time has come. It is an idea that registers the hurt feelings, shattered egos, fraught spirits, vexed bodies, and taxed emotions of white folk. In truth, their suffering comes from recognizing that they are white, that their whiteness has given them a leg up in life while crushing others' dreams, that their whiteness is the clearest example of the identity politics they claim is harmful to the nation, and that their whiteness has shielded them from growing up as quickly as they might have done had they not so heavily leaned on it to make it through life. White Fragility is a vital, necessary, and beautiful book, a bracing call to white folk everywhere to see their whiteness for what it is and to seize the opportunity to make things better now. Robin DiAngelo kicks all the crutches to the side and demands that white folk finally mature and face the world they've made while seeking to help remake it for those who have neither their privilege nor their protection. It's only going to get better. And I think we're going to do this in bits and pieces. So that was just the foreword. And we have an author's note coming up next. Be careful with that and enjoy. Please and thank you. And I will see you in the next upload. Bye.